A brilliant pilot decided to work for the CIA, the White House and Colombian drug lords at the same time. You'll find out all the details by watching the recap of the movie American Made, based on true events. This story takes place in the United States at the end of the 20th century. Two pilots are flying a passenger airplane. One of them falls asleep and the other disables the autopilot and increases the airspeed. The plane gets into a zone of turbulence and immediately begins to shake violently. The passengers on board are panicking, but the pilot calms them down and lands successfully at the airport. The man returns home and instantly falls asleep. His wife Lucy is rather upset. After all, she was getting ready for this meeting. But there's nothing she can do about it. The pilot is constantly flying from one city to another and gets exhausted. He goes to a bar at a local airport and orders a drink. An unknown pilot approaches him and says his name, Barry Seal. Right, that's the name of our pilot. The stranger claims he's a CIA agent and knows everything about Barry's illegal business. As it turns out, our pilot meets with Cuban immigrants on Thursdays and smuggles their goods into Canada and the US. The man introduces himself as Schaefer and suggests that Barry quit smuggling and works for the government. This makes the pilot laugh at first, but then he agrees. Now Barry has his own airplane. Actually, it's the fastest twin-engine airplane in the world. Moreover, he gets a personal cargo airline. What a nice present. However, this plane is equipped with a camera. Barry's job is to fly over Central American countries where rebels are fighting against the American regime and take pictures of everything he sees. Is that legal? Well, not really. Is it dangerous? Extremely. Does Barry agree? Of course. At home, the pilot tells Lucy about his new job. Obviously, he doesn't reveal what he'll actually have to do. The same day, Barry quits his official job at the airline. Now, he flies around Honduras, El Salvador and Guatemala and captures on camera the locations of various military installations and guerrilla camps. At that time, the Cold War between the US and the USSR was in full swing, and the Soviet Union was supporting the communist insurgencies. Therefore, the US was willing to do anything to prevent the revolution. Barry flies so low over the rebel camps that he is constantly being targeted by gunfire. Nevertheless, it doesn't prevent the pilot from getting photos of excellent quality. However, sometimes things don't go smoothly. One day while flying over El Salvador, Barry's plane is hit, and the pilot manages not to crash and fly away from the dangerous place only by a miracle. The CIA is satisfied with his work, and Barry asks for a raise. Schaefer agrees and offers Barry to go to Panama. There, the pilot works as a courier and delivers packages with various valuable information. A year passes, then the second, and the third. Barry gets a daughter and then a son. He manages not only to carry out his work successfully, but also to cook breakfast for his children. He's the perfect father. One day, a red car pulls up to Barry's house and two strange men take him to a luxurious country mansion. A local drug lord offers Barry a deal. He can fly wherever he wants, but on the condition that he helps deliver illegal substances from Colombia to the US. There are tons of them. The thing is, it's extremely difficult and dangerous to export such cargo. Colombians are ready to pay Barry $2,000 for each kilogram of white powder. This is a great amount of money. Needless to say, the main character accepts the deal. He gets acquainted with his new employers. They are Jorge Ochoa, Carlos Lehder and Pablo Escobar. Still, there is one little problem. All the pilots constantly crash on their runway because it's too short. Barry is very proud and self-confident though. He is sure that he can handle the task, which is impossible for other pilots. Also, Barry refuses to land with the illegal cargo in the United States. He offers to drop the contraband while flying over Louisiana and also shows them the stash on board. The men agree and immediately roll carts with their shipment to the plane. Barry ties the package to the life jackets and places them on board. The Colombians bring out more and more carts, which makes Barry a bit nervous. He has already loaded 300 kilograms of powder on board. The protagonist protagonist does his best to achieve maximum acceleration and prays to take off before reaching the end of the runway. And he succeeds. The first flight passes smoothly. Barry reaches Louisiana, descends and drops the packages of illegal cargo down. Escobar and his friend's agents are already waiting for them there. Satisfied Colombians drink to celebrate the successful affair and hand Barry a bag full of dollars. At that moment, the mansion is raided by the US military. Everyone is immediately arrested, but the Colombians are soon released. Schaefer visits Barry and helps him get out of jail. It turns out there was a revolution in Nicaragua, and the communists came to power. The president of the United States wanted to get rid of the communists with the help of the local fighters against the regime called Contras, and appealed to the CIA for help. That's how Barry got a new job. Hold on. First of all, the main character decides to move his family out of Louisiana. He comes home, wakes his wife and kids up and demands that they pack their bags immediately. They head for a small town of Mena in the state of Arkansas. With Schaefer's help, Barry gets a house with plumbing problems, a huge plot of land and a personal airfield. The CIA agent shows boxes full of weapons to the protagonist. There are hundreds of Kalashnikov assault rifles. Barry's task is to deliver these guns to Nicaragua. Schaefer gives Barry a folder with flight maps and a bag full of cash, which he left in Colombia. Barry returns home and encounters a deeply distinguished Lucy. The woman pounces on her husband. She is pregnant with their third child and squabbles because of the sudden relocation and terrible living conditions in the new house. At that point, Barry confesses to his wife that he works for the CIA, throws several wads of money, and hands Lucy a full bag of dollars. Now, Barry smuggles assault rifles into Nicaragua so that the Contras can fight the communists. Admittedly, these guys are more interested in glasses and boots than guns, but the CIA orders must be obeyed. In order to befriend these savage guys, Barry delivers them various gifts, including alcohol. There, the main character meets his old friend Jorge Ochoa once again. The man offers Barry a new scheme for illegal business, and the protagonist immediately agrees. Thus, he delivers a part of the rifles to Colombia, loads the illegal white powder and delivers it to the Contras training camp. And these guys transport the illegal cargo to the US by boat. Some packages are dropped into the swamps of Louisiana according to the old plan. The extent of the illegal trade grows, and Barry recruits new employees. These pilots also transport weapons to Latin America and take white powder. The protagonist calls his assistants the Snowbirds. One day, Schaefer comes to visit Barry again. He announces that they are going to set up a military training camp for the Contras on Barry's land. The main character mission is to bring the bravest boys from South America to the camp. He agrees and brings more Contras to Mena. Actually, many of them don't want to fight and immediately run away. What can be done about it? In the end, the rest of them are properly trained in warfare and handling firearms. Barry goes to the bank to open an account. Then, he buys his wife a fancy car, and after that, he registers several shell companies. He has so much money that it's literally impossible to cope with. Looks like cash is literally everywhere. His business is growing. Barry is constantly transporting guns and white powder. He introduces Lucy to his Colombian friends. He has fun at parties, opens accounts in all the banks in the country, buries bags of money in his backyard, and buys kilograms of gold. He is living the life of his dreams. One day, Lucy's brother JP shows up at their house. Barry gets him a job as a janitor, but the sly guy quickly finds a bag of money in the hangar, buys himself a car and brings his girlfriend into the house. Once, Barry and his buddies are overtaken by a plane of the Drug Enforcement Administration and demanded to make a landing. Barry refuses and flies over the sea until the DEA's plane runs out of fuel. One of Barry's pilots falls asleep right in the air, and the protagonist decides to touch the wing of his plane to wake up the unfortunate guy. The FBI initiates the investigation. For some reason, there's too much money in town of Mena, and they need to figure out who owns it. Besides, why are there so many banks in this small town? The planes of drug control are attempting to intercept intercept Barry once again. He makes a hard landing right on the highway, gets out stained with white powder, and offers a local teenager a wad of money for his bicycle. As a result, Barry manages to escape. There are 200 kilograms of illegal substances on board his plane. Schaefer is furious. In the meantime, a full-scale war breaks out in Colombia, and Pablo Escobar's cartel has to shut down its business. He and his men move to Nicaragua. JB is caught by the police with a suitcase full of money. Lucy asks Barry to rescue her brother, and Jorge promises to help him. Barry takes JB out of the police station and demands that he leaves the country immediately. However, the guy proves to be extremely stupid and stubborn. He argues with Barry and forces the latter to send him a lot of money every week. Then, JB gets behind the wheel of his car, starts the engine, and the car explodes. Barry realizes that his wife's brother was killed by the Colombians, covers up the crime, and returns home. The next day, Schaefer arrives in Mina. He demands Barry to explain how the Contras weapons ended up in Colombia and declares their cooperation is over. In the office, Schaefer orders to destroy all the documents confirming the CIA's contract with Barry Seal. The protagonist also tries to get rid of all the compromising evidence, but doesn't manage to do it in time. He is simultaneously arrested by the FBI, drug control, and the state police. Barry is threatened with life imprisonment. That's when the phone rings. It's the governor of Arkansas, Bill Clinton. He's pressing for Barry's release. The protagonist is taken straight to the White House. The government needs proof that the communists in Nicaragua are trafficking illegal substances. Barry is obliged to take part in a secret operation and get some solid evidence. The main character and another agent fly to Nicaragua and meet Escobar and his friends. At first, the Colombians don't trust Barry, but then they calm down and load dozens of boxes with white powder on board. By means of hidden camera mounted on the airplane, Barry manages to take lots of pictures of evidence of the Colombians' criminal activity. These photos are soon shown on the TV. Escobar's cartel seeks revenge as they realize that Barry has betrayed them. The police show up at Seal's house, search the place and confiscate all their belongings, leaving the family with not a single dollar. Lucy puts on her fur coat and jewelry so that the police can't seize it. The woman and the children leave for Louisiana, and Barry begins his trial. The man is sentenced to 1,000 hours of community service. Barry spends every night in a new hotel and records his story on camera. He labels each tape, puts them in a box, and always carries them in the trunk of his car. He knows that Escobar's men will come for him at any moment. The protagonist can't run away or hide, because he has to work off his sentence in a shelter for the homeless people. One night, Escobar's men find him. A gunshot is heard and Barry Seal dies. The police find a box of videotapes in the trunk. Lucy gets a job at a diner. She wears a bracelet studded with diamonds on her arm. I can't give away wads of money to all my viewers, but I can entertain you with great recaps, so stay tuned.